Hello, everybody. I'm Madame Sensei. I teach Spanish, French, and Japanese out here in the beautiful Pacific Northwest to high schoolers. And I am thinking my way through the Harvard Project Zero thinking routines. I'd love some help with this. I can be reached at studio-nemo.com, or you can ping me on the Minecraft Education Ambassadors or the Duolingo Educators Network. We are still in introducing and exploring ideas, and now we're looking at lenses. And again, these are all located on the pz.harvard.edu/thinking-routines website, and link in the description. Lenses, we use a lot in literary critique. So if your English language arts colleagues, they are very well acquainted with this one. This is a routine for looking through lenses and exchanging perspectives. If you're teaching grammar explicitly, you've got a pop-up grammar lesson, grammar translation method, the audiolingual method while looking at transformation drills, community language learning, and you're dissecting a script or classroad, or you're working straight out of your textbook. A lot of times students have a hard time getting out of their own native English-speaking head. Okay, yeah, I've got students who are native German speakers, native Russian speakers, Mandarin, Romanian, Italian, Thai, heritage Spanish speakers in French class, heritage French speakers in Spanish class, French speakers, Japanese class, everything. At any rate, you get my point. At any rate, we world language teachers know how important it is to put the lens of culture on everything we do. We have to constantly remind the students that grammatical gender has absolutely nothing to do with people gender. Don't take offense when we say that the knife is masculine, but the spoon is feminine. That's just the way the language works. And gender just means type. It doesn't have anything to do with sex. It's a grammatical gender. We do have to constantly remind them about that. What I'm trying to say is that we already use the lens of our target culture constantly. Your students are going to have times when they blurt out that something is hard or stupid. Just take a deep breath and start over with the lens, okay? Don't get mad at them for saying it. Just take a deep breath, smile, start over, because this lens is so important for the students to understand if they're going to be successful, not only in the target language, but just being a good member of society, right? We are the great American melting pot. So there I was, one of 6 foreign exchange students in college in Japan, and I watched 3 of my classmates completely wash out because they absolutely refused to use proper grammar. And they would say constantly, well, in America, all men are created equal, so why should I change my verb endings? And I overheard a teacher talking to one of the students at some point. You know, I wasn't like, I was walking down the hall, and the teacher had the student alone, and the teacher was saying, very patiently, I understand you're a foreigner. I know this is hard for you because, of course, the concept in Japan is that their language is the hardest in the world, so it's impossible for a gaijin to learn it, you know. But he was like, I know this is hard for you. Intellectually, I know what you're saying. I understand what you're saying, but my stomach clenches up when you talk to me like that. So it was akin to swearing a blue streak at the teacher, okay? And the teacher knew you're not trying to swear, but it's still, you know, it's a visceral reaction, literally, right? Take a deep breath. Try to get your students to see through the lens. Again, it's going to take more than one time. It's okay. Just take a deep breath and keep trying. When you're teaching literature, culture, history, or art, if I can get my thing to respond, I think it's easier to explain this one with a painting. A movie, a short story, a video, sculpture, any of these will work. But let's take, for example, Paul Gauguin, Tahitian Women on the Beach, okay? The Project Zero thinking routine asks that you first use some lens that resonates with you personally. Well, I'm female. I could go with that. Or I used to live in Hawaii, so I could pull what I know about Polynesian culture from that, extrapolate. I'm generally a happy person, so I'm probably not going to focus on their somber expressions. I have a student who was very much into fashion. And so at the time, she asked me what muumuu were made out of. What was the material? So she glommed onto that. Our beaches out here in the Pacific Northwest are very rocky. So some students focus on the sand and how comfortable that looks. We're also very environmentally conscious out here. So a lot of students like to talk about the nature that they see, or we'll talk about global warming issues. Finally, we have a very robust Students Organized Against Racism group, SOAR. So it's nice to springboard to talk about white man's burden, which is inherent in this picture, okay? But the idea is that every student individually chooses a different way of looking at the painting. Only one way And you want each of the students to be looking at it in as many different ways as like each student thinks of it in one way, looks at the picture in one way, and they stick to that one way. But don't let your students talk to each other or everyone's going to come up with the same one way. Okay? So you want to get different perspectives, different lenses. I put word bank and sentence frames on the board. And so generally, if I think that the word is going to apply to everyone, then we'll start writing words on our living word bank. We'll add to it. Okay, but I'll also predict what they're going to ask me. They're going to ask me for sand. They're going to ask me for moo maybe. They're going to ask me for the bow in the hair. They're going to ask me for waves or water or ocean or something. They're going to ask me for barefoot, whatever. Okay. Students are allowed to ask, comment dit-on blah, blah, blah en français. How do you say blank in French? But I try to answer them quietly so the rest of the class isn't too influenced by what they hear, because I want everyone thinking about how the picture speaks to them personally. Okay. I have plenty of dictionaries available. I don't want the kids to go online because the temptation to Google Translate or Chat GPT is way too great with the cognitive demand things. Okay. So I either am pushing the students to do things more simply, or hey, here's a dictionary. I'm going to show you how it works. I have them write 3 sentences generally. And then the part where they partner up with somebody, it goes much smoother. I have them write the question that they asked and their partner's answer. There's a pretty huge cognitive load for the students. So depending on class dynamics, we might slip into English for a whole class wrap-up. In our next episode, we're going to talk about name, describe, act. Hope to see you there.